Hello, everybody. Hopefully you can see me. If I could get maybe someone to reach out in the chat really quickly. Oh, there I am. Now it says I'm live. Hopefully I'm live. This is Dr. Thomson, Superintendent of Schools. Hopefully I can see someone respond to make sure that I am coming through out there in Facebook land. Looks like I have 5 followers just yet. Maybe we'll wait a second or two, see if there's more. If I could get a hi in the chat box, that would be helpful. And again, Julie, you win the prize of being first, so thank you for that. So I just want to open this, remind everybody out there, because we do record this. We do also have this recorded and put it out on NCM for those people who are not necessarily Facebook folks or Facebook literate. That this is kind of live. It's off the cuff. I am trying to read from different sources, including the chat box eventually. So with that, it's a little difficult, and I appreciate your kindness and your patience with that. And hopefully I can get through. I want to thank everyone. I have got almost 100 questions that were submitted since last week. So I'm going to do a quick little open here, address some things that I've heard in the community or read in the community, as the case may be, and then kind of go through and start answering questions. So if you are in the chat box, if you put a chat in there, I do have some of the administrative team on with us as well. Maybe they can answer them, but I get a little concerned that I'll miss your question if that happens. So if it's something you really want to have me answer, or if it's a general question, maybe the administrative team could maybe comment in the box to let people out there know who is here. I saw Brian Riley there earlier. I am working in pretty hard, so they might not all be here, but that might help as well. So there's a big question about COVID case and contact tracing and close contact and that sort of thing. So on the school website, which for those of you who don't know is norwood.k12.ma.us, in the news section, I believe it's the first news item currently, is our whole contact tracing and probable case protocol that was worked on with our Norwood Board of Health. It is in line with current national and local public health policy. It was developed with that, and we used that because that was a more conservative approach than what originally came out from the DESE. The definition of a close contact has not changed since early on. That is a public health definition that has been out there for a very long time, but it's basically being within 6 feet of an infected person for at least 15 minutes, direct contact with, secretions and things along that line. And again, I do not have a degree in public health, but that's what a close contact is. That has not changed. It is possible to be in a room with somebody and not be a close contact, especially if masks are worn and those sorts of things. But what happens is that we basically work with our Board of Health and our nurses on the Board of Health, with our school nurses, our administrators, and go through the process as it's outlined to identify if there's a suspected case or a positive case and move on from there. How we do differ and have been stricter than the DSE when they changed their guidelines is that our isolation time is more, and we will close and keep people who we think might be a close contact in isolation until the investigation is completed. But after that, we will reopen. If there is a case there, we do close the classroom. 48 hours, I believe, is the time that we're doing that, and we will do a deep clean. Now, the thing with that is sometimes that might be, like if we discover a case on a Friday, that could happen over the weekend and everybody is still coming back into that room or what have you on Monday, depending on how many, and it depends on how many people can actually work that active case at that point in time. But please go to the school website. I also posted it here on Facebook as well, a link to the webpage, and that again is norwood.k12.ma.us in the news section. Right, and another very important document, if you have not read it, is our reopening plan. There's a lot of information in there about cleaning procedures and things along that line, if you're now asking those questions. But I think it's really important to know that this school system, superintendent and school committee members have a very close contact and close association with our Board of Health and have worked through all these protocols and expectations going forward, and we're very thankful for that. The other thing I want to make a quick comment on, and I won't comment on everything on it because some of it isn't worth a comment, but there was a article in the Record last week about widening gaps and comparing public schools to private schools. I just want to remind everyone out there that the private school does not need to follow the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education guidelines, does not need to follow the state curriculum, and does not take MCAS tests. So there were some things in there, and I just wanted to point those things out. And I will reiterate, although you're not supposed to believe what I say about robust remote education. Let me just be perfectly clear. I am not saying that being remote is better than being in person. That is not what I'm saying. That is not what the Norwood Public Schools wants to be doing. Trust me, I wish we were not having these conversations. I wish we were not in this situation. We were having to socially distance, wear masks, have sanitizer all over the place, try to limit how many students are in our classroom at a time to make sure they're safe. I truly wish that we were going back to last September and opening schools just as they were. Trust me, it would be a heck of a lot easier than what we're trying to do right now. But with that being said, we are limited in Norwood by space. Most of us know that we have overcrowded elementary schools. We have a high school that was built with the MSBA guidelines, which limits the amount of space you have in a classroom. We were not able to put the number of students in our high school classrooms we have in the past. Not and keep the social distancing. So no one has signed up or said, woohoo, let's create a hybrid environment and not meet the needs that we have for our families and our students before. But we are committed to doing a better job than we have done in the past. The faculty, the staff, the teachers here have done a great job in the last 6 months about learning and growing in a totally new environment. This district has invested in technology, invested in tools, invested in people to rewrite and revamp the curriculum so it is considerably more robust than what we did last spring. And I want to thank all the teachers for their hard work, the administrators for all of their hard work, basically spending their entire summer taking square pegs and trying to fit them into round holes. It doesn't work. It's a total revamp. And for that, I apologize. I mean, there's nothing. I holistically believe in trying to meet the whole child. I holistically believe in wraparound services. So what I am trying to do right now is fundamentally against what I in person believe. It is not a power grab. So with that, I will go through and answer the questions we've gotten. The first three are about the high school. Please explain why Norwood students in hybrid are only attending school for 4 hours when most surrounding towns are going for 6. So I want to be clear. The high school is coming in person for 4 hours and then heading home and doing 2 additional classes. So they are doing a full day of school. Okay, they just are not doing it all in person. And again, that space issue is a problem. That space issue is a problem in our cafeteria. We cannot feed and distance our students in the high school cafeteria. So that is why they're going home before lunch. They're doing a grab and go lunch. They're going home, having their lunch, okay, and then jumping back online. So that is why that is happening. So the model that we are using might not be what is directly next door, but statewide, it is a common model for what we are doing. Why is there a study at the high school as well as students 45-minute free period each day? Well, that free period, part of that is their lunch. Okay, so let's be clear on that. Most students, about 95%, do not have a designated study in this schedule. Okay, so there is a transition time between morning and afternoon, but that is basically so students can get home, eat their lunch, and be ready for the afternoon classes. It really isn't a study per se. This period allows teachers to do some collaboration and calibration during that time during the day. before they do those final 2 classes. We did add a win block, as it's called, or a what I need, and that's basically twice a week, once for the first cohort and once for the second cohort, and that allows students to get extra help, allows students to do counseling appointments, social emotional learning, college and career planning, and things along that line, and it's a time for them to get what they need at that point in time during the day. The other question was about instrumental and choral music at the high school. We are planning on using it. There actually are some new guidelines, national guidelines that are supposed to come out that we're kind of waiting for. The DESE has put out guidelines. They include, and I don't have them right on hand, but being outside, distance of over 10 feet in order to play instruments and sing and that sort of thing. So we're looking for a little more guidance, but there is an intent to go back and bring that back as best we can. When do high school students get the links and times for their classes? All right, so the times for the class were released in early August. That has not changed. A detailed schedule for the first 2 days will be sent home was sent home yesterday. So that should be in your Aspen portal, and you should be able to see that. Google Classroom links will be available on the 16th, which is tomorrow, and you'll be able to get that through your student email. So if you have a high school student, have them check their student email on the 16th. If they're coming from the 8th grade to the 9th grade, it's still the same email. Okay. Google Meet links for live classes will be put into Google Classroom just before the start of each class. So Google Classroom, once again, and the Google environment is going to be how we're going to be facilitating our learning. So moving on, does high school students be able to practice sports this fall? So yes, we are. There's limited sports. There are now 4 seasons, not 3. There's a floating season or a fall 2 that is, I think football and cheerleading are in that. But we are starting with sports. I believe they start the end of this week. And I say that, yes, we're going to have sports as long as we don't turn red. And there's those guides where if you're red, and in order for us to continue with sports, the school committee would have to vote to keep that up. But yes, we are hoping that we are going to have sports. But I'll be honest with you, a lot of that depends on decisions that students and the community make on how they're going to proceed. I was driving around Norwood today, and in the 2 meetings I had to go to, encountered kids either riding or walking down the street, no masks, in groups. So if this is going to continue, that is going to be a problem because we're probably going to have an issue, and that will affect sports, our ability to do any in-person, et cetera, et cetera. Will kindergarten screening be offered outdoors for families that are high risk? I would imagine that we would make accommodations for high-risk families, and I would encourage you to call the Willett and to make that arrangement for that to happen. Again, kindergarten screening is starting the 17th. We'll go through the Monday and Tuesday the week after, and I need to pull up the calendar to see what Monday and Tuesday are. I believe it's the 21st and 22nd, and then we will start kindergarten on the 24th, which I think very well might be another question on the sheet, if I remember correctly. Can you please explain what happens if Norwood turns red like Dedham? What also happens to fall sports? We turn red, or town we play against turn red. So basically, if we go into the red zone, which is above 10 per 1,000, I'd have to go back and check, but it's a pretty good, our higher level of cases per 10,000 people in town. And if that happens, then we're supposed to go only remote. So part of this design that we have been working so hard on is being able to quickly and easily move from hybrid to remote without having to stop and restart. As far as sports, if we're red, we can't practice or play, and that would be the same for other towns, unless their school committee has made the decision to vote that they will. I suppose maybe if it's really close to the line, a school committee might. I'm not going to pretend to predict what would happen here. I am hoping that we do not go red. Would you please explain the steps being taken to prevent transmission and spread of COVID-19 infection during the school day? How will these be enforced? So again, the remote, the reopening plan that's on the website goes through that in excruciating detail. But we have sanitizer. We are requiring masks. We're and they really should be masks. I know kids like gaiters, but if they're going to wear gaiters, they're going to have to double them up. Okay, so I'll say that right now. Kids are going to need to be able to wear their masks. We need to social distance, and that's going to be reinforced throughout the day. We have wider distancing and eating outside for as long as possible for lunches at the elementary and middle school level. And if, it's important that people know that if students are not able to comply with this, that there will be a conversation with the student, there will be a conversation with the family. But if we cannot get it rectified and get everybody on board on what needs to be done to ensure our school community is safe, then we would have to move someone to the remote learning academy, the remote only option, if that's the case. All right, since teachers are now considered frontline workers, the DSE recommends why are educators' children not given the option of full day in-person instruction? Space, basically. But bottom line, we at the elementary level, we can put about 15 students in the classroom, and to do otherwise, we're going to be mixing cohorts, and that's basically what happens. It throws off the numbers. We are very tight, in most of our grade levels for doing that. If you are a teacher in another district and it is an extreme hardship, we do have extended day maybe here, or maybe there's another option we can look at. You can reach out to me and we can see what we can do. But unfortunately, we cannot. We just don't have the space to put them into the cohorts and keep with the distancing that we have prescribed to. What are the metrics being used to resume full person in learning? When will this happen? And they mentioned the governor's color-coded recommendations. If the map turns green, will the district consider full in person? We are currently yellow. And again, it says green with, why did it end? Oh, this is the button, sorry. I thought I saw end live video. I thought I ended it, I'm sorry. So we are currently in yellow, which means you should be hybrid according to the governor's temperature chart, if you will. Green is full in person. The problem with in person is you have to have enough space between the desks. We are going with 6 feet, which has been the norm at this point. In order for us to bring in full in person, that social distance piece has got to be taken off of the table. And I'm not quite sure when that is going to happen, but that's what would need to happen for us to go full in person. And we all long for that day, but I don't know when that will be. Would you consider, this is a good, what are the dates of the marking periods to be determined? They're going to be fairly close, but there will be some adjustment. We did lose about a week, 2 weeks of our starts. We probably should move that a little bit. We have not looked at the calendar in a lot of detail. The first priority has been the hiring and the getting new employees up and running, and the PD that we've been doing to make sure our teachers are ready for our students arriving. Would you please assess the air quality, ventilation, exchange in the Balch, ensuring students, faculty are breathing frequently exchanged fresh and moving air? So our older elementary schools, and the Balch is the oldest we're currently using, excuse me, does not have a ventilation system. It has a heating system, much like you do in your home when you have baseboards and a pump, and hot water goes through there and you get heat. Ventilation is going to come through opening the windows. Okay, so the windows will be open during the day, and that will continue on through even the winter months. The windows will remain open until the custodians close the building down later on in the evening. So again, that air exchange, when they come in the morning, they will be opening the windows in all the classrooms to start the air exchange, and that will be continuing. Would you consider allowing kindergartners to use the playground at recess? Yes, we do have provisions to use the playgrounds at recess, not just the kindergarten, but the elementary schools. There are cleaning requirements to come in there. That might not happen first thing, especially in kindergarten, where they're so getting used to the environment and the routine there. That is what first few months of kindergarten really is a lot about routine. But I assume that they will quickly be able to use the playground. It might not be in that first round, that first week or so, and we have to work out the cleaning routine and how that happens. But that will eventually happen. If my hybrid child is absent on a regular school day, will they be marked absent, or will they have to have the ability to have a remote day? They would be marked absent. It depends, if you have someone who is sick or long-term sick, we are willing to have them jump into the hybrid group at the elementary level or at the middle school level. At the high school, it's even more seamless because both high school instruction, whether you are in person or at home, are all happening on the same schedule. So you will have half the kids in the classroom, half the kids at home at the high school, but the class is still continuing on. So that is a possible. That is a possibility if someone is sick to jump into the remote learning, and all you would really need to do is to contact your school principal and just make sure that they know. I'm sure it'll be somewhat easy to be able to jump in there, but we don't want kids who are sick for the first part of the week with something. Is if you are sick, we do need kids to stay home. If they're exhibiting any symptoms, we do need kids to stay home just as a precaution, and we're going to facilitate them jumping into the remote part. What apps do kindergartners learning remotely need to download? It's all going to be coming through the school accounts, and will all be coming through there. For that age level, it probably is going to be mostly based on Seesaw, but there will be, don't fret, don't worry, there will be instructions going home during the kindergarten screening. There will be a whole bunch of instructions that you are given even before, so that you will know that. But I wouldn't necessarily stress about it now. And kindergarten is not going to be, there's going to be a mix of some things online and some things in person, and worksheets and things along that line. Would you consider a transition to a full in-person learning for the younger grades? Consider yes, but again, it's still that same spacing issue. Okay, looking for guidance on what to do to get a future kindergarten ready for next year. Due to the hybrid remote schedule, they aren't able to drop off and pick up. So we are more than willing to give people guidance, preschool, kindergarten, who are working at home with that sort of thing. And again, I would contact Stephen Billhard, who is our new interim principal at the Early Childhood Willett Center. But please wait until the second, like the 5th, 7th of October to do that. There's going to be enough whirling around, but they are putting together information for parents to be more than willing to sit down and have that conversation with parents. Will parents be able to accompany preschool children into the class on the first day? Without a proper orientation, uncomfortable sending my child to a completely unknown environment. So, and I think this brings up a good point. Basically, we are, unless there is a specific dismissal sort of piece, we're not allowing outside people into our school buildings. Okay. So the answer to that is, can they go in for the first day? The answer is no. However, there are going to be orientation slides and an orientation video that will be sent home that you can watch with your child, hoping to close that loop. Okay, so please address how you'll be handling all of the days on student cohort A, and they mention Columbus Day, the voting on the 3rd of November, 1/4, I think it's a PD day, and 1/18 is probably Martin Luther King Day. So we are going to look at that, but we also want to look at how many Thursdays and Fridays are not school days, and then kind of balance from there. But the thought is that we would then maybe not have a Wednesday on that week. So you'd have, if it was, and I'm not saying Columbus Day would be the first day, but you would go Tuesday, Wednesday with cohort A, and then Thursday, Friday with the other cohort. But again, we're going to look at the calendar once we get up and running, but we would shift the day, and we'll let you know what that is going to be once we get there. I lost my place. I'm sorry. In light of the poor rating, Norwood High School 89th Please address why these students are the only ones not attending all day. Okay, so first let me talk a little bit about poor rating. So when U.S. News and World Reports put out their rankings of high school, they are using certain metrics to measure that, not a complete picture. Most of it comes around college readiness, preparing students for college. And the key metric for that is the number of kids taking AP classes and the number of kids getting a 3 or better in AP classes. So when we look at the current ratings, those would have been based on 2018, more than a year and a half ago. That would have been pre-override. And one of the things we wanted to do in the override was expand the AP offerings specifically for part of this. But there still is another issue that we have that we're still working on, and that is that we do not require kids in AP to take the AP exam. So if you have 100 kids take the AP exam and only 75, 100 kids taking AP, excuse me, and only 70 or 75 taking the test, you're already behind on that number that's going to get a 3 or better. So this is an area that we're looking at, and part of one of the asks in the override was to add staff at the high school to be able to offer more AP offerings. We had some of the least in the area, and then encouraging students to take it and providing funding for students who maybe have an economic disadvantage, but requiring kids to basically take the test. So this is a multi-step process. Obviously, we're still doing AP, and we have expanded the offering, so hopefully that will change. So, and again, the Norwood High School students are getting a full day of school. They're just doing 2 classes out of their daily classes at home. If students are combined to their classrooms, why haven't libraries been cut from the budget? Okay, so this brings up another topic, and I'll probably come back to this several times. So this is a community that has always promoted a well-rounded education and educating the whole child. One thing I want to mention about our library program is that it's not just getting books and reading. They do an awful lot of robotics, coding, and STEM type activities in the library. They will push in and still do those. So those are important learning opportunities. And the thing is, and there's another question I think further down about, for in-class days, any consideration only core classes, more in-person instruction, fundamentals that art generally do. So the same sort of thing. So you might have a student that really excels in art and they don't get to do art or music or something they really look forward to doing. Is that going to be a great school environment for them? The other piece is that we are running a full school day. So teachers will be engaged with these students mimicking a school day. It won't, and I'll come back to this in a second. So because of that, teachers still need their contractual prep time. So those pieces are still in there or still scheduled in the day in the Remote Learning Academy, where the teacher will be not, on the screen. And some of that will be specials, and some of that will be break time to work on projects and such. So that's why the library is not cut out of the budget. I lost my place again. I need to print this a little larger so I can. Okay, I found it. Book pickup for remote learners. When will that happen? Okay, so the thing here you have to realize is the Remote Learning Academy kids are getting their materials from their former or home school, as we're now calling it. So if they went to the Balch last year, even if they're in the Remote Learning Academy, they're still going to go to the Balch to get their Chromebook, their English book, their math book, their workbooks, all the books. Okay, so that started yesterday, I believe. 2nd and 3rd grade was today. 4th and 5th will be tomorrow. If for some reason you missed that, then please contact the school to see if you can get in to take a look at that. All right, and get those materials. But all of those should be in people's hands, if not tomorrow, definitely by Thursday. And if you don't have them, then please, by all means, reach out and get those from your home school. Okay, so when is the first day of Cohort B? So Cohort 8 for all students will start on the 28th of September. So 28 and 29 is that Monday, Tuesday. That means that the second group will start on October 1st, October 1st and 2nd. The 29th is, the 30th is a Wednesday. We are starting with our transition grades, and that's 1, 2, 6, and 9 on the 21st, this coming Monday. Okay, hopefully that answers that question. When will bus routes and schedules be announced? They will definitely be out by Wednesday. They were finalizing some of the cohort information, but those should be published, if not tonight, or probably tomorrow, would be my guess. Okay, have the Norwood teachers given any indication they will not report to work for school teaching like some other towns' teachers? No, absolutely not. We've had long conversations. They want to make sure things are safe. They're worried about making sure our students are safe, making sure that they know all the protocols and how to handle things. And they have been working with us these past 8 days to ensure that that is happening. So not at all. Okay, so the next question, they're kind of similar about. So if a family has to travel out of the country because of some sort of issue with a family member or something along that, emergency situation, how soon should they let them know the school about it, and can they continue to remote learn? So I'm kind of summarizing 2 questions here. So basically, if you have to leave, Norwood, and it could be, the next state over, or California or whatever, because there's some sort of family crisis or something you need to go to. Basically the fundamental rule is if you're not moving and leaving the town, then you can continue to remote learn. We would ask that you would give us notice that was going to be a protracted period of time, a few weeks or what have you. But if you can give us a couple weeks notice, just to transition and make sure it happens easily and there isn't any downtime, that would be helpful. But as long as you're not giving up residency in Norwood, you can stick with us. Okay. High school students practice sports in the fall. Yes, I believe that's starting this weekend. Now, this is my favorite one. Will there be snow days, or will those days become remote learning instead? So this is a question the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has not give us an answer yet. I'm hoping that they will allow us to say remote and not have to count snow days. That would be wonderful. Okay, so next question. Will the remote learning be like Florida schools where the teachers are present throughout the school day but take a break for lunch and recess, be like it was in April? Okay, so it's going to be, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on what Florida's models is, but if you look at the reopening plan, you can see kind of a sample schedule. You can see that there are classes your child will need to be in, be they home or in school. They will need to be in a class at that time. We will be taking attendance. We have to take attendance. So on those remote learning days, your student's engaged and has to log into a class and listen to the lesson and do the activities. It's not like they can do it anytime they want. All right. There are specific classes and live teachers giving that instruction, running groups, giving feedback, collecting work. So this is an important piece that people, and I've said it several times, and I think some people have missed it, and I don't want to pick on this person, but your remote days are going to be school days just like the in-person days. They might be different from time to time. Wednesday is going to be the morning, and the afternoon is going to be asynchronous, so they're going to be working on their own after they get instruction in the morning. From 8 down. High school's different, okay? But they have got to be in class, and those classes will be scheduled. That schedule will be shared with you. They will have to sign into meets. Okay, so a lot of people are like, well, I don't have time to teach them. You shouldn't have to, because there's going to be a teacher there on the other side of the screen. Okay, so one of the things, and I go back to my robust, remote learning. We have worked hard to revamp the curriculum, enhance the tools the teachers have, so it is mimicking the classroom. I use the word mimicking because it's not replacing. We would much rather have our 22 kids in with us every day in our classrooms, but we are doing the best we can in the circumstance we are in to mimic the school day. So this is part of the thing. Even if they're home, let's say they come in person Monday, Tuesday, and they're home Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they're going to have to be on and be signing in and be participating and doing work. They've got a school day. Okay, it's not free time. So I just want to make sure that's very clear. Are you anticipating having a February school vacation? Yes. Actually, I could use a vacation now. I've taken 4 vacation days the entire summer. So, yes. I don't anticipate canceling that. I mean, I didn't want to go late into June. And we did. We had just started gaining some traction in April, but part of that might have been a little too much for people. I'm not quite sure, but yes, not planning on changing any of the times at this point in time on our school calendar, like vacations. Okay, thank you for you and your staff for all your hard work and dedication. For the remote learning days, will students be expected to log on at a specific time? Yes. Will the lessons be recorded so parents can do the work later in the day? We're not going to be recording classes. Some teachers, and I say some teachers, might record. We're using like a screen casting thing where they're talking to a screen and showing things on a screen. There are videos that we use in our math instruction, and those would be available. But we're not taping our classes to we're not doing school on demand. So they will have to, and we are taking attendance. They will have to sign in. They will have to participate. They will be working in groups in some cases and doing different things. So yes, they're going to need to be on the schedule. I'm confused about this cohort procedure. I'm not quite sure that question. I'm sorry, I wasn't enough. If someone wants to put that in the text box, maybe I can come back to it. Remote Learning Academy, how is it set up, and when will they receive their schedule? So tomorrow morning, you should be contacted by the remote learning teachers. I think the goal is to have letters out from those teachers to their students by 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. I will be honest with you in that we are still looking for one 5th grade teacher. We thought we had one, and that person changed their mind, unfortunately. So we're kind of scrambling a little bit. If you know any 5th grade teachers who are pretty good with technology, send them our way. But that will be a schedule, and basically every day starts kind of with a whole class meeting and going through the schedule of the day and how they're going to work things out. So look for that. And again, it's all Google. The kids are signing in with their emails, and they know how to do that at this point in time. Okay, so we have a close contact. If a teacher or student in a particular classroom is a confirmed case of COVID-19, such that contact tracing needs to be conducted, would other students in that affected classroom be a close contact? Who would be notified? So the first thing, it would depend on the timing. We would notify them. We would isolate them. Okay, and as far as aggregate exposure, I mean, those really are questions. Again, I don't have a degree in public health, but basically we would if we have suspected case and it goes through, I'm looking at it here because I have it on my other screen. But it goes through these scenarios. So if you have a suspected case, we isolate them while we investigate the case to see who really qualifies as a close contact. If you qualify as a close contact, then you're being asked to quarantine for 14 days. If that happens and we have to do that, then we would quickly pivot those kids to a remote learning environment. Might even be taught by the teacher. It could be that maybe a student had an exposure and we had to quarantine certain students in the classroom, but we would pivot those kids to the remote aspect. They would still continue their learning from home, and we're not going to, it's not a vacation. So, just kind of keep that in mind. And again, I go back, the link is here also on the Facebook page. take a look at it. But this is standard Board of Health procedures. And I just don't feel qualified to comment on aggregate exposure or things like that. I don't have a degree in public health. So yeah, that's about all I can say that. But close contact, just because you're in the room doesn't mean you're a close contact. So someone in the front or sitting right next to somebody might be, but somebody on the other end of the room might not. So it's not an all or nothing scenario, and people need to realize that. And we will deal with those. Again, we are taking a stricter approach to this than what was originally put out by the DESE. And again, we are safety first. If a hybrid student must stay home to a COVID symptom, how does that student remotely participate in class? Will that student just be unable to participate for the 2 days of the week, otherwise report to in-person instruction? So again, if you're told to quarantine, if they have symptoms, you call. If they're well enough to participate from home, still be isolated. If you're, trust me, been first superintendent of the state quarantine. So if you're home, you're supposed to be isolating yourself from the rest of the family too, by the way. But the Board of Health people will tell you that. But if the kid can participate and continue on, the kid should participate and continue on. And hopefully that never changes. You can. How will the Norwood Public Schools handle truancies? Same as before. Again, we are taking attendance, and again, it starts with notifying the parents we have a problem, letters home, meetings with parents. Hopefully, it doesn't have to go where we're involving the courts or things along that line. But same as before. People need to be in class, need to show up. Why are there professional development days when the high school teachers are supposedly meeting each day with departments? So the professional development days are focused on specific topics and training that are not necessarily normal department work. So for instance, we have someone coming in to do universal design for learning, which is basically designing curriculum instruction so that everyone in your classroom can have access to it and be successful. So it's a way of arranging, and it's brand new, so we're bringing in an expert to train the teachers in that. That's not something they're going to do in a department meeting, talking about tests, talking about assessments, talking about lessons that work, and talking about projects that are working. That's a different kind of work than learning something new. And the professional development days are learning something new. Okay? My eyes are getting old. Okay, I understand that laptops are typically lent out with first graders, starting with first graders, but will it be extended with kindergartens, given that they are at least partially remote? So we are not intending on kindergartens to be solely working with technology. If technology is going to be a challenge for you because they do not have another option in your home, we do have some limited options here in the school. And again, I would contact the Willet if that applies to you. Was there any consideration to not doing full day kindergarten, especially remote? I'm really worried about how a full day schedule is going to go for a 5-year-old on a computer. So, and that actually leads into kind of a bigger topic. But we're not planning on kindergartens being on a screen all day. So they will have some instruction. They will have some projects and activities that they're doing. Okay, but they're not. And the thing with the kindergartners is that teacher is with them in person and also follows them in remote, which is a little bit different than what's happening at the elementary school. So there is that continuity, in there as well. So, and we did look at, half day kindergarten, but that ultimately, and again, there's so many pieces to this. So between the challenges at the high school and the schedule at the high school, and then trying to do a half day kindergarten and swap them back and forth, it was going to be a transportation problem. So that was part of it. And then by the time we circled back to that, we had already talked about a full day kindergarten for partial in time. And then that becomes a monumental shift 3 weeks before school opens, which changes a whole different dynamic for students. So that, again, square pegs, round holes, no good answers. Ms. Melvin Music, I answered that one. I chose online school in August. Could I change to a hybrid? So basically, we're asking that people stay till the end of the first marking period. If there was some sort of mistake or huge issue that changed that, I'll be honest with you, 3 days before we start, that's going to be a challenge. But we're asking that you complete a marking period at the grade level you're at, and that you give us at least 2 weeks notice before that change. And again, if we're moving kids, we're packed pretty tight here, folks. We're trying to hire as few people as possible. So with that, we're pretty compact with our numbers. We can't just we don't have a whole bunch of extra room, is what it comes down to. For the remote days for kindergarten, will the learning be synchronous, or will the schedules share a guide at how the day usually goes? So it's going to be a combination of both. There'll be synchronous and asynchronous. There'll be materials brought home, but it will be, and again, you don't sit up there and lecture kindergartners for hours. There's short bits of instruction, there's activity. There's short bits of instruction, there's activity. And that's consistent with all of our early grades. So some will be synchronous, some will be asynchronous, or they'll be working on their own. Okay. Okay, why is it that Walpole families received a prorated bus fee of only $120 when they use the same bus company, but Norwood families still pay $300? They've also received partial refund, but again, Norton did not. Okay, so as I've said several times before, our fee is not a pay per ride, it's an offset. I'm not going to pretend to know what Walpole's budget scenario is or how they function or use bus fees. Our primary focus was not to raise fees this year. We also are looking at paying for sanitizing buses and things like that. I don't know if there's a different scenario or funding source for how Walpole is paying for some of those things. We are, I'll be honest with you, we are probably going to end up with less in our bus fees because of that. So it was, again, a concerted effort not to raise fees with that. And I think I was pretty upfront with that ahead of time. But we're trying to do that across the board, just keep things the way they were. I don't know why Walpole decided to do that. I don't know their budget situation. I know Norwood's budget situation. And we have in our budget an offset for bus fees to help pay part of our bus costs. So in order to reverse that, we would have to take money from someplace else. It's that simple. Will there be any kind of social emotional health support for students experiencing anxiety about school and COVID? Yes. So all of our teachers are really focused on social emotional learning, especially in the beginning, getting kids transitioned back to school. That was one of the things that we worked on during these 10 days. We are also adding some mental health consulting as part of one of the grants that we were lucky enough to get. That we applied for 4 or 5 different grants since June. A lot of work in that. We got every single one of them, but one of those grants we have a slot for mental health consultation to help out kids who are having problems. But again, if you see something that's going on, or if you know your child's feeling that way, then I would definitely contact your school's school adjustment counselor, the school adjustment counselors of the high school, or middle school, and talk to them about that early and often, so that we can get them whatever help they need. But we are very cognizant of the fact that we might see more social emotional issues going forward. So. Can you specify the hours of full remote learning at CMS? Yes, day starts at 7:25. It ends with class time at 1:25, and then from 1:25 to 2:05, they have office hours when they can check in with their teacher, get feedback, get questions answered, get help, and that sort of thing. So basically, from 7:25 to 2:05 every day, they have a schedule for those days. What's the main platform students in second grade will be using for learning? Google. There will also be some Seesaw. Seesaw allows you to do more interacting on a more like a portfolio where you're collecting evidence of art and things along that line. So it's more for the younger grades. You will see some of that used as well. We have invested in the enhanced Google project, which allows us to do different things with meets we were not able to do before. But that all those same collaborative tools are there. How do I sign my student into remote learning? Will there be an email instructions sent out? So, so how do I assign my student to remote learning? So the students need to check their school email, and they can probably start doing that tomorrow if they haven't already done that. But as soon as you get the notifications about their class assignments and what have you, soon thereafter, those invitations to Google Classroom and things along that line will be coming out. And basically, they're going to be accessing their curriculum, their work, their meets, their online video pieces like we're doing now, all through Google Classroom. So let's hopefully that answers that piece. All right, how do we access the RLA? Students are supposed to have sign-in information. Will it be a Zoom? Again, it will all be Google. And again, tomorrow morning by 11 p.m., you should have a letter from your teacher. Good morning, Dr. Thomson. How can I get extra help for my child? They usually get extra help now. He's in remote only. What can I do? So basically, again, get started, get into the routine, and then contact the teacher. So just like if a kid stayed after school, or just like if they got intervention, we are going to be doing that pretty much everywhere. Okay. So I'm making sure I didn't lose questions. Okay, here's one. I'm a single mom of a second grader, the only person that cares for my child, and I have to work. And concerned about the schools and programs being closed on Wednesday. All right, so what and again, this comes back to, unfortunately, us not being totally able to do everything we did before. And as I've said before, I'm sorry we're not able to do what we did before. I wish that we were able to do what we were to do before. If you remember back, I think it was June when we had several of these, I asked parents to start thinking about cohorts and collaborating. Once upon a time there was a neighborhood, and you had the neighborhood. So, collaborating, maybe you do one Wednesday, you do the morning on Wednesday, they do the afternoon. Obviously, it depends on what kind of job people do, but relying on friends of the neighborhood, friends of friends, flexibility perhaps at work, but some sort of cohorting for that is, we did start the extended day. And again, it's not as for the remote learning days. For those other 2 days, Wednesday, we're still trying to make sure we have, cleaning basically between cohorts. So we're planning on doing essentially a deep clean or disinfection on Wednesdays, and again on Friday afternoons or Saturdays in between as well. So it's going to be difficult to do that if we have kids in our spaces. So I do wish I had a better answer for you. I don't think we have a great answer to that. So, as I said before, I apologize. All right, so I'm going to come over to the chat box and kind of scroll up to the top. There's a lot of busy talkers here while I've been going on. Makes me wonder if you're listening to me. So I'm going to try to scan through. So I see Brian answered one. So I'm not sure if you addressed this yet, but when will IEP testing resume? Soon after we start. We have a pretty big load to catch up on with that, because we weren't really able to do face-to-face, face-to-face if during the shutdown. We have contracted and actually put into a grant to contract extra people to do testing and things along that line. So we have a plan going forward, but that should soon start soon after they do that. Would there be contact tracing in case of a child or family gets sick? I'm not quite sure I follow that, Maria. If we, yes, I mean, so if we know that someone that is in a classroom is sick and is tested positive, the procedures happen just as they are in there. It doesn't matter if it's not like if they're only sick in school, do we do this? I mean, if they're sick, and again, we have to rely on people telling us, and that can happen quickly. My kid's sick, we're concerned, we're going to go get tested. You call the school, you let us know. That's kind of the more responsible thing to do. Maybe you don't know, maybe you're kind of asymptomatic or not very symptomatic, and somehow you end up tested or what have you, and the Board of Health finds out, then the Board of Health notifies us, but then the process starts. RLA students should receive their teacher assignments tomorrow morning. There is one 5th grade. We're still looking. Will kindergarten kids get a laptop? No, we're actually looking at tablets for them. And again, it's kind of as need. It's not like you need a tablet, but if for some reason there's no other option in your household, and you might want to see how much, get an idea whether it's actually doable or not. But part of the problem is we've actually been pretty lucky. We were able to purchase a lot of technology last spring before the end of June. There are a tremendous amount of districts that are scrambling right now because they do not, they did not get their orders in quick enough. All right. Son has 3 blank, 5, 6, 7 periods in his first day, multiple blanks. We have addressed this with the links, but no response. So Denise, I'm not quite sure what grade level that is. If I would call your son's school to find out what's going on there. Remote learners pick up the books. They should all have them by tomorrow. And again, you're going to your home school. So if you're an elementary student at the Balch or the Cleveland, and you're now in the remote learning academy, you would go to the school you went to last year to get the materials. That's where they are. Bus routes and assignments probably by tomorrow afternoon. Those will go out. Will RLA have some sort of specials? Yes. Music, library, and art might be self-paced. We're still working on art for that. Julie, thank you. I just wanted to say how much we loved Oldham Library with remote learning this spring. So many great resources, book recommendations, and games about internet safety that were so helpful. Yeah, so our library is not just go in and get a book. High school books for remote learners. Again, you're going to the high school to get your materials. High school grade 12. That's the person who was missing. So again, you probably need to call. For the high school, there might be a scheduling problem where they could not fit your child into the classes that they wanted to put them in. Edie, you're welcome. Julianne, you're welcome. I wish I was more help some days. So other than lunch, will there be small breaks to get up and move during remote learning academy? Yes, there will be. Asking as a first grade mom, yes. So, the research, no one had really thought about trying to do school through a computer before. So there's a lot of research that came out later in the spring about what worked. And basically, we're looking at about 20 minutes for, younger grades, kindergarten, first grade. When you get up a little bit higher, 30 minutes is pretty much the max. High school can maybe do 40 without a break. So the idea is that much like regular school. So we don't, and teachers don't get up there and blabber on for 45 minutes or an hour. They go up, they give a lesson, kids will work in groups, work on activities and things along that line, and then come back together. So that will pretty much be the format that you will see when they're in a remote mode, either full-time or part-time, is that you will go in, you will get that instruction, you'll have work to do, you'll have projects, ongoing projects that you're working on where you're applying that knowledge, and then, you'll come back together and share and hand things in and get feedback. But it will not be like 6 hours of staring at a screen. So Brian answered that pretty well. Developmentally appropriate brain breaks, physical stretch breaks, maybe some Go Noodle. That sounds exciting. And he mentions all adults and kids always need a break. And so there will be mass breaks into the schedule. There will be stretch breaks. We will be taking kids outside. We will try to use all of those and Jessica, I see your question about working and single working parents. I don't have right now. I don't have an answer for Wednesday. I don't know if we can find one. There was some talk about maybe the rec department adding some things. So that's kind of where we are. We might be able to add something going forward, but again, everything is focused on getting open in 2 days. Can you take one from the hybrid until you can find one? We can, but we're hoping we don't have to, because the problem with that is that then it gets difficult when you change. And again, this is all more complex than people realize. So there is kind of the center of all of our student data is called a student information system, and it holds everything from contact information, medical information, IEPs, schedules, grades, you name it. Everything about a student is in this database. Also, everything about a staff member is in this database. So when you start you have to put kids into the database to have the database talk to all the other things like Google Classroom, like Seesaw, like the math program, so all those things talk. So when you put them in there and then they talk and then you take them out and go someplace else, creates a mess. So this is the other piece that people don't realize is how complex, because all these pieces were built to fit together in a certain way, and now we're blowing it all up. So we can look at that, but flopping back and forth causes a whole bunch of other work changes and losing data, losing information. So all right. So since Wednesday is asynchronous in the afternoon, could I have my first grader do the work later? Say I wanted to sign my kid up for outdoor yoga at 2 p.m., for example. Megan, that theoretically should be fine. I would check with, I'm not sure what grade your kid is, but that might be a question once we kind of get started enrolling to ask. But can you sign me up for yoga too? I could use some yoga. Yeah, I already talked about the music program, so we are hoping to all right, so Amory Ray has been very patient with me, but as an older parent of a high school student, I don't know what this cohort system is all about. She graciously explained that my son is in cohort blue, but does not have a first day until 9:24. What time does he log on Thursday the 17th. Still haven't gotten clarification. He also has 3 blank spaces on first day. Okay, so yes, so everyone is starting learning on the 17th. It's just whether you're coming into school or not. So he should check his schedule and follow his schedule starting on Thursday. This is for Denise. Okay. And I would contact the high school guidance department about the blanks in his schedule. He probably, for some reason, his classes didn't fit all well together, and he probably needs to find some other. They probably need to sit down and talk to him about his other classes. And again, you're kind of in that add drop period, so I wouldn't freak out too much. But so that's how I would, approach that. So basically, a cohort is a group of kids that are coming to school at the same time on the same days. And we're trying to keep those cohorts as separate as possible. It's not an absolute, because the more cross-cohorting you have, if there is some sort of outbreak, the wider it can go before we can get it under control. But so just so everyone's clear, the only difference about the only part that's different is when you start in person. So everybody except kindergarten will be starting on the 17th. They will be starting remotely. They should check their schedules. They should look for links from their teachers. They should log in using their Chromebooks that they picked up at their home schools. Okay. Will there be freshman sports for the sports that they had last year? As long as the enrollment in those sports is there, then yes. Do first grade students have school emails? Yes, I would check your portal for that information. If you do not find it, okay. So Diane Ferreira answered that probably better than I did. Yes, it'll be the first year of graduation, first initial and last name. It'll be explained further at orientation. Yes, so just a quick thing, elementary principals have done a great job about putting together orientation videos, because everything everything's been changed. I mean, even how we're going to be coming and going into the building has been changed. So so please make sure you go back and you check on those orientation videos and slides. Okay. Now, Denise, you're probably not the only parent confused. So, I'm sorry. And again, I would just call, and I mean, I expect that there probably be a few missing pieces of the of the high school schedule. Normally, you put a high school schedule together starting in March, and you finalize it in July, and you have it out in the beginning of August. Okay, this high school schedule did not really start being fully built and vetted until the middle of August. So it will not be absolutely perfect to start, but please know that will be an issue that we're all going to have to deal with. So please be patient, reach out, and support each other. I did talk about the music program. We are hoping to get it started. We're waiting for some more guidance. Okay. All right. Yep. All right. So there's a YouTube video right there that was put up for the high school. All right. So school is starting Thursday. It's just whether the only people coming in Thursday and Friday are substantially separate special education students. And again, just to get them in and settled. On Monday the 21st are your transition grades 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 6 and 9. Those grades that are first coming to a new school, if you will. Kindergarten is doing screening, which we were not able to do. And they will start on the 24th. Okay, so and it will start online for those that are not coming in person on the 24th. Okay, and again, there are emails that are coming out. So are they all starting remote until the first cohort day? Yes, Denise. Doris, sorry. Do RLA students get orientation? Yes. Katie, I don't know the answer to that question. That'll probably be a question I'll have to answer tomorrow. But no, we're not gonna delay starting. It's how we're gonna cover that 5th grade until we find that person. Okay, so with that being said, that's kind of the end of the chat here. Hour and 10 minutes. I planned on 45 minutes, but it's great. Hopefully, I answered some more of your questions. And again, appreciate everybody's patience. We are going to have to, I jokingly say that we're going to, this is not going to be perfect. There's going to be starts and stops. There are going to be challenges. We're going to get, 5 minutes down the road, and there's going to be a new challenge that pops up. This is totally different. This is things, we're trying to develop things that have not been fully vetted. We have not been able to, again, normally you change one thing and you spend a year or two kind of researching it and putting it in. This year we're changing everything and we're doing it in less than 3 months. So, and we're going to have to be patient. We're just going to have to communicate. And this is going to evolve and get better as time goes on. So, keep that in mind. The important thing is that we are going to get to see our kids again, and that is something that we're all looking forward to. So, with that, I want to thank you for tuning in, and appreciate your questions. This may have been asked, what does a middle school stay starting on? That's not one that I have, and I think that Dr. Frazek is doing some interviews with paraprofessionals, so she might not be able to answer that. So, Elizabeth, if you email it off to maybe one of the assistant principals at the middle school, Mr. Greeley or Mr. Freeman, I'm sure that they can probably get back to you on that, unless somebody else knows. But I would imagine that they would start with day A on the 17th, but that would be a guess. All right. So everybody take care, stay well, stay safe, and appreciate your patience and your understanding.